Good day, everyone. So, for today's video, we will be discussing the takeaways from all of the modules that we took this course and the other lessons and insights that we gained. Studying literature provides a special perspective that allows us to examine various viewpoints, question social standards, and consider our own identities. I came across a variety of stimulating items in this each offering unique stories, lessons, and perspectives. Module number one exposed me to national and global narratives, as this module offered a variety of literature, each with different stories, lessons, and a new perspective. So, the three specific materials covered in this module that stuck out to me were Vision Out of the Corner of One Eye by Luisa Valenzuela, 2 plus 2 equals 5, and El Empleo. My takeaway from Vision Out of the Corner of One Eye was that the main character was a bit unpredictable because she did things that other women wouldn't really do when they are being harassed. So she stole from the guy, which I guess it's her way of becoming his karma. And the other material that stood out to me was 2 plus 2 equals 5 because it depicts how different people react in a situation. It showcases how in society there are those who will be bystanders, people who will try to speak for the truth but will eventually comply, and then there are those who will stand by what they believe is true. So the film was made to be dystopian because these are actual things that happen in our history. So and lastly, for my third material, I chose El Empleo. So it stuck out to me because it didn't have any script nor do any characters have any dialogue, but it really tells you a lot. It doesn't really give a direct answer, but it's more open to interpretation. So the way that I interpreted it is that we live our lives to work, like all of us are a slave to something. Personally, out of the three modules, this one was the one that I liked the most because I felt like it was the most relatable to me. So, this module talks about the experiences of the colonized countries, such as the common misconceptions that have sprung due to colonization and lack of knowledge. So, a lot of these views or different perspectives, even though colonialism ended many, many years ago, are still being passed down, and it creates some sort of negative judgment or common stereotypes from one race to another. So one of the materials that stood out to me was The Danger of the Single Story by Chimamanda Adichie. So first of all, I think that the way she delivered her message was actually really powerful and eye-opening. So she starts off by saying how when she was younger, she was more exposed to foreign or Western books from Europe, and she will sort of incorporate those characters into the books that she would write. She said that growing up, it was harder to acquire local books. So I believe that that's kind of lacking representation, which at a young age could potentially affect someone's identity. I feel like I can kind of associate it with the media. Like how when I was younger, I would see more Western films and books and Western representations, or even like in the Philippines, like our showbiz, being mestiza or half white and having pale skin was considered the beauty standard. And since most of our celebrities were Asians, so it was kind of embedded in us to hate our natural skin color, which is tan. Because in our history, we were often told by our colonizers that we are below them. And to even reach a certain level of power or respect, you have to be of different race during this time. So in the Philippines, being tan or having dark skin is often associated with being poor, because it meant that you were working outside a lot, and having pale skin meant you never had to work. And I guess that sort of mentality carried on. But I do acknowledge that in some social media, having darker skin is slowly being more welcomed, and yeah, a lot of people are embracing it more and more nowadays. So another takeaway that I had from that video, which is the danger of the single story, was how traveling has a lot of impact and can really open up your eyes to a different perspective. So she mentioned living in the US or studying there, and she often heard about immigrants or Mexicans because they were the ones that were often associated with that category. So she mentioned how when she went to Mexico, she saw how they were living and people were happy and doing their own things. So it changed how she viewed them and reflected on herself, because when she kept hearing on the news that like Mexicans and immigrants, she started to kind of uh like close this certain ethnicity or race to this certain type of category, like Mexicans and immigrants. So I guess I can relate to that because this year I had the opportunity to travel to Brunei. So if I were to talk to my younger self, I would think that I am crazy because I am going to these different places that aren't very well known and not a lot of people go to. And when I was younger, when people were way more vulgar than sensitive, it was common to associate Muslims with terrorism, especially, the jokes that they make. In addition, I watched a YouTuber who got yelled out at a mosque. So this guy, Drew Binsky, said that he's visited every country in the world, and he said that Brunei was one of his least favorite countries. So this made me really stop considering going there because he obviously had an experience. However, there was this exchange student from Brunei who studied in our course in history. We got to talk because I wanted to learn about Brunei. It was not often heard of, and people even forget it's in Southeast Asia. So when she taught me some things about her country, I reconsidered going there. And when I got there, I had an entirely different experience than what I expected. So the locals were really nice, friendly, and welcoming. It was one of those countries I visited where the taxi drivers were nice and not because they were trying to scam you or gain money from you. Brunei was peaceful and safe. I often wonder how many other countries out there are being villainized by the media because of, like propaganda. But yeah, overall, traveling is such a spiritual experience that it opens you to different perspectives in life. So, the next material that I will be discussing is not poor. So, this one also stuck out to me in this module because I've seen this skit when I was younger and always thought it was funny. But growing up now and having more awareness of the world, I realized how deep it was and how well written the satirical jokes were. It is so often that black people are being associated with being thugs, gangsters, criminals, and belonging to lower sectors of society. I feel like this is also the case for Latin Americans who were mostly categorized as being drug pushers and criminals. So I guess like my takeaway from this kid is how um one day if I become a parent, I would teach my children to look into a person's character and not what they are on the outside. So this module is called Body, Mind, and Desire because each story dwells into the themes of identity, power, and choice. So I like this module a lot because I like reading into the vagina monologues. First of all, the title itself includes a sensitive female body part that's not always said out loud. And I feel like just by reading the title itself, this material goes beyond topics that are taboo and or most people find uncomfortable. So as a woman, I find this empowering because Eve Ensler gave a voice to people for them to speak about their personal experiences. This kind of movement encourages women more to speak up for themselves and to understand their own bodies. So as we are moving to newer generations, it is nice to see people becoming more open nowadays. I believe that by speaking up about these topics to young girls and helping them understand their bodies instead of using other nicknames could actually really be helpful as a way to prevent predators. I read and hear a lot of stories of young women getting raped or harassed by their uncles or any adult male and make them do some sexual acts. Some of these women only realize what was done to them once they are older. Overall, the Vagina Monologues is a good feminist movement for me. So another reading that I like was Hills Like White Elephants because initially I wasn't following through with what was happening in the story, but after doing some research, that's when I realized that it was a woman and a man discussing abortion. I feel like the hesitancy to discuss the issues it kind of confused me at first. But my takeaway from this was that the man was attempting to persuade the girl to have an abortion. The phrase white elephants refers to something that someone owns but wishes to get rid of, even if it's means spending a lot of money. So now I'm gonna be discussing the three takeaways for module from class lectures, synchronous and asynchronous activities. So I remembered at the beginning of the term, Sir assigned us to watch different short films on YouTube. So one of those short films that stood out to me was Hair Love. It was about a father learning how to do his daughter's hair. So in the earlier scenes, we see the child watching a YouTuber or hair guru who eventually turns out to be her mother who's battling with cancer. So what I love about the short film was the fact that it ended up being more wholesome when they didn't kill off the mother. I also find it heartwarming how her dad goes through so much effort for his daughter. So another activity that I really liked from this course was when I did the hero's journey for Nosedive. I love Black Mirror because it is dystopian and explores different themes of human behavior and relationship with technology. So Nosedive can be interpreted in many ways. In today's generation, many people gain so much money and fame through social media, and many people will go through so much lengths just for clout or even completely diminishing their morals and who they are as persons. I like the contrast in the end where she felt more free in prison than she ever did outside. Because outside, like she had to fake fake her persona, she had to fake her laugh, like she would have to stare at the mirror for so long and practice. And then another activity that I like was when we watched Science Seeker starring John Lloyd and Solen Yusuf's commercial. If I remember correctly, it was a simple film that really gave off early 2010s vibe. I guess my takeaway from that film is to be courageous. Like, you will never know how things will go until you step out of your comfort zone and do a simple thing. A simple thing such as confessing to someone you like or asking them out on a date. So, how do I see learning and insights from Jelly 2 contributing to my development as an individual and a member of society, even after my academic life in DLSU? So, to answer that question, the lessons and insights from Jelly 2 have greatly influenced my viewpoint and enabling me to think or develop as a person and contribute as a member of society. The course has pushed me to think critically, sympathize with other experiences, and approach societal challenges with a broad knowledge by exposing me to a wide range of stories, cultures, and ideologies. So these teachings are more than just academic because they give me the skills I need to deal with the problems in the real world. So lastly, for the conclusion, as a person, Jelly 2 has promoted self-awareness and a greater understanding of the complexity of the world by assisting me in better understanding my identity and beliefs. I've learned to challenge biases, appreciate the power of storytelling, and treat diversity with respect and openness, thanks to the readings and the conversations. So these realizations have made me feel more socially responsible as a member of society by encouraging diversity, standing up for underrepresented represented voices, and making choices that are consistent with the principles of justice and equality. I hope to make a good contribution. Thank you.